Welcome to another episode of the Social Media Content Creators Podcast. Today is a really exciting day. Some of the noise that you're hearing right now is me at the airport. I'm on my way to San Diego. There's a really big marketing event called Social Media Marketing World. I'm really excited. I'm going to be attending there for the next couple of days, just learning a lot about content creation and just social media strategies from Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, you name it. It's a really awesome event, so I'm going to be able to network there, meet some people, and also learn some things and be able to share that with you in the future. So just wanted to give you a little context as to why you're hearing that noise in the background. All right, so if this is your first time here, welcome. On this podcast, we discuss photography, video creation, and social media marketing to help you elevate your presence online. So today's topic is how to get more comfortable posting photos and videos of yourself on social media. I know for a lot of people, this can be a topic where it's really touchy because they feel very not confident about posting themselves online for various reasons. Some people don't understand the best way to go about it. Some people have a certain negative mindset about it. And so we're going to be talking about some of those things later on in the podcast to help you feel a lot more confident and be able to leave with a couple of tools that will actually help you, or not tools, but a couple of tips that will actually help you feel a lot more confident and know how to have the proper mindset, so that way you can start posting yourself online and really just build your portfolio. So if you are someone that's a personal brand and you're just getting started and you see a lot of people that are, posting themselves and turning that into, a business, this is definitely the podcast that you want to be listening to. And then even if you work for a company and you're handling their marketing, there's still going to be a lot of takeaways because content is changing and content is getting more of a personality and more of a human touch. So we'll be touching some of those points. So this episode is sponsored by Carter Social Experience. Some of you may be saying to yourself, I know that name. Yes, that is our business. So this is a self-funded podcast. We are paying for ourselves. So if you are interested in getting information about photography, video creation, or social media marketing for your business, just head over to our website, cartersocialexperience.com, and we'll be happy to assist you. And if you do want to support the show in another way, you can also visit buymeacoffee.com/Dakari Carter, and then that'll allow us to be able to take these episodes to the next level as well. If you've never heard of Buy Me a Coffee, here's a little bit about it. It's basically a site where you can make donations to some of your favorite online creators by making a one-time payment of $3, $5, or $15, and they can use that to buy themselves a coffee, or they can use it to keep funding whatever projects they're on. So feel free to keep that in mind if you do want to support the channel. So just to give you a little bit of context as well, I did ask some questions on Twitter as well as LinkedIn, so I'll be answering a few of those at the end of this podcast. So if you do have questions that you would like me to answer in future episodes, just go ahead and send me a message or leave a comment or send me a tweet or whatever the case is on social media. So all of my usernames is just Dakari Carter. Very easy to find. I'll make sure I include the links in the description in the show notes. That way you can find me, and if you do want to be able to send me a message or whatever the case is, I'll be happy to answer some of your questions in future episodes. So let's go ahead and get into it. So again, today's theme is how to get more comfortable posting photos and videos of yourself on social media. The number one tip that I have, there's a lot of points, but the first tip that we're actually going to go over is to really just stop caring about what people think. I know a lot of people kind of get caught up in worrying about what others may have to say about someone, posting themselves online. Some people have the idea that I don't want to appear to be too, showy, or I'm all into myself, or I'm just too concerned about what I'm doing and not worried about others. That's a negative mindset to have. You always want to keep in mind that you're posting yourself because you are wanting to achieve a goal, right? You are wanting to be able to turn your passion into something that can, generate income and become a business for you, and just to step things up. So you can't really always think about, okay, what are people going to say about the way I look, or about the way I talk, or where I'm recording, or how I took this picture. You have to think about what the goal is for you and keep that in mind, and not necessarily always think about other people. Now, of course, when you are creating content, there is a portion of that where you have to keep in mind who you're creating it for and how it's going to appear, but you don't want to let any of that hold you back from even just getting started, or from being too afraid to make that post. That's not a healthy mindset to have, and so you don't want to do that. So what you do want to keep in mind is people want to see you succeed. Of course, there's going to be some that are maybe not your biggest fans, but if you're posting, let's say, one piece of content and it's a video and you're telling a story about your business or whatever it is that you're passionate about, and out of the 100 people that see it, maybe there's 5 or 10 that are really moved by your content and inspired, or it helps them in some way. That's the people that you want to keep in mind when you're making the content, not the other, 90 or 95 that may not be, your audience, or maybe not be the ones that are really interested in what you're doing. You want to keep in mind the few people that are, and remember them each time that you're making the content. And that kind of leads me into the next point, which is to have the right mindset when it comes to looking at the camera. So a lot of people see the piece of technology and they kind of get intimidated and afraid and scared, like, okay, I'm so nervous, it's so weird talking to this camera as if it's a person. And I get it, it does take a lot of time and practice to be able to get over that hump, but you definitely can. And so what you want to think of is when you are looking at your camera, whether it's a professional camera or your cell phone that you're filming with, or taking a picture with, you want to think of the person that's going to be scrolling on Instagram, or watching that video on YouTube, or whatever the case is. You want to think of those few people that are going to look at it and how they're going to feel, and think of them enjoying watching you. Just like you have certain people online or movies that you enjoy watching, you have to keep that in mind, that the person that's really interested in the topic you're discussing, they're going to be so happy to see your face and so appreciative of you taking the time to be able to do that. And so you kind of have to treat the camera like a person, and look at the lens as if there's one person behind it, and just have a real conversation and just really, be yourself, be comfortable, and just think of it as the person watching it on the other end, and not necessarily as just a piece of technology. And so once I started doing that and thinking about, okay, this is, John watching it, or this is Sarah watching it, or whatever, that's when I started thinking of it less as a camera and more as, this is how I'm going to communicate with the person that is really interested in hearing what I have to say. So keep that in mind. The next point I have which is very important, and that's just to remember to have fun. Sometimes we get so caught up in, overthinking the process. I actually just made a video on my YouTube channel about not overthinking how you're making videos or photos, just really having fun with it and just capturing the moment, because that one piece of content that you put out, that's just one of hundreds, if not thousands, of pieces of content that you're going to put out in the future. So you don't have to treat every project like it's a Hollywood film, you know what I mean? Or you're shooting a photo shoot for Vogue magazine or whatever. Sometimes you just need to be able to document what's taking place and tell that story so someone can follow you along the journey and learn how whatever the topic is that you have to talk about, how that impacts their lives. So that doesn't always have to be the most premium quality content that they've ever seen in their life. There's a time where you do want to, step things up, but for most typical posts, you just want to be able to tell the story. And that's kind of why a lot of these platforms have implemented the stories feature, because people just want to see really quick, like, hey, I'm on my way to the airport, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, having a great time, this is what I've learned at the event, blah, 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 whatever you're doing. People just want to know what's going on. They're not like looking for your content to see the most amazing thing, because if they're a fan of you, they're just going to really want to see you and hear you. It's just like seeing, a family member over FaceTime that maybe they live out of state. You're just wanting to see them. You're not concerned about, oh, why are they, on FaceTime when they're on a loud, busy street or whatever the case is. You want to just see them. And so you kind of have to keep that in mind as you're doing it. So just have fun with it. Just remember that this is, the more fun that you have with it, the more your audience is going to feel more comfortable and more appreciative of you creating the content, and they're going to tell that you're happy and that you're comfortable and that you feel confident. It's definitely going to show. So don't overthink things. Progressively make projects that do look better and sound better and all of that good stuff, but just get started. Don't let anything hold you back from being able to do it. So even just like today, for example, I could have said to myself, you know what, I'm not going to record in a loud airport because people are going to think that's weird. Instead, I'm thinking, you know what, they'll still be able to hear me pretty okay, and they'll be able to get valuable information and kind of forget that there's a bunch of noise going on in the background because I established that context. So it's like small things like that you can kind of, cheat in a sense where it's like, hey, this is why you're hearing this, or excuse the noise, or whatever the case is. and just kind of proceed with it. And people will be comfortable, and then their brain kind of gets distracted because they're concerned about what you have to, say, or what you're, showcasing, whatever the case is. So definitely keep that in mind. Just have fun. It's going to be a great time. And just remember that you're going to get better. The level of what you're putting out is always going to grow as long as you keep going at it. And you'll be happy with, you'll be so happy that you didn't hold back from putting out that content. And then the last point that I will leave with will be to think of the long-term benefits of building your personal brand. The time that it takes to, go from, let's say, your first 100 followers to your first 1,000, it's obviously a journey. And so you have to remember that you are along this ride because you know that at the end, this could be something where if you're trying to, let's say, go full time and just be a content creator, or you're trying to be whatever the case is, or you're just trying to get a lot more traffic to your business, knowing that you're putting in the time and investing in the content that you're putting out, if you know that that's going to get you to your end goal, it's worth it. No matter how long it takes to get there, if you know that every day you're making a little bit more progress, or, man, I got, one more follower this week, or whatever the case is, that's what you have to keep in mind, because that's what's going to keep you motivated when you get, let's say you're not feeling up to it, or let's say you're really tired and you're like, I don't feel like putting something out, or, thinking about those long-term benefits of what it will do for your business. That's what's going to help you to remember that, this is worth it. I'm in it for the grind. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to stay inspired, even when, life gets hard, because sometimes you hit moments where, life is still going on, even though you're trying to, grow a personal brand or a business. But knowing that, hey, I have an objective of what I'm trying to reach, whatever that revenue goal is, or whatever that, subscriber count is, or whatever the case is, that's what you have to remember. And that's what helps me as well, because I had a funny conversation on LinkedIn recently where someone was asking, how do you stay motivated and how are you so excited just to have 50 subscribers? This was about 2 months ago. I was like, man, I just think of, that progress, because I remember when I had 13 subscribers on YouTube and like getting 1 view or 2 views or whatever, and just appreciating the growth and appreciating who is paying attention is so important, and not thinking about, the people that are not, and comparing yourself to others, because that's just not going to do anything positive for you. And so that's what I do. I think of the long goals. I know where I will be in the future. It's probably going to be, a number that I can't even anticipate now, but I know that there's so much potential, and that's the potential that I keep in mind with myself. And so I just wanted to share those couple of points with you. I know that a lot of people are inspired by others that they see online, and they want to be able to follow that same path and be confident and be comfortable on camera, but it takes practice. And so even some of your favorite online creators, those people had to get over the hump and realize that, hey, I just have to start. Maybe they weren't the greatest at it when they first started, but now they're much better. And so it just takes time, patience. You have to just understand that you will eventually step your game up online and be able to be comfortable and inspire someone else down the road. And so those are the points that I wanted to touch. Now I want to go ahead and answer some questions that came in through Twitter. And one of them is, do you really think it's possible to start your own YouTube channel with just the basics, your phone and maybe a light? Absolutely. It's so crazy how you can do so much with your cell phone nowadays. I remember when I first started, shooting, even a couple of years ago, I was just using my cell phone that I had to be able to try to make, videos and, use whatever free apps that I could, or even paid apps, to be able to control my camera settings. And so phones are getting so good. The quality of the videos, the video quality is really good. Of course, you just kind of have to know some basic things about lighting and the way your phone camera takes in lighting. And so there's some apps that make it even easier to be able to control some of those settings. That way, let's say you move around to a bright background and your screen's not going from dark to super light. And so one of those apps that I would recommend that you kind of start messing around with, well, there's 2 apps that I would say. One of them is Moment. So they have that's a mobile camera company where they basically make lenses for cell phones, and they have different devices to help people that want to create high quality content with their cell phone. It gives them that ability. And so they also have an app, and that app allows you to be able to control the camera settings, which there's 3 basic camera settings. I won't dive too deep, but there's 3 basic camera settings that will allow you to get a good quality picture. So one of them has to do with what's called the ISO. That's basically the fake light that your camera sensor is creating to try to make something brighter. And so it allows you to control that. So that way, the lower you have that setting, the more natural the better the video quality will be, because you won't have those little white, fuzzy, colorful balls kind of all around when you see a video where it's a bunch of just colors moving around because it's too dark. That's because that little ISO setting is so high that it's trying to get light. So it allows you to control that. And it also allows you to control the white balance as well, which is basically how warm a picture looks, or how yellow a picture looks, or how blue it looks. So depending on what time of day it is, the way your camera sees light, it basically picks a certain temperature of what the colors are in the room. So if, let's say, you go outside, it's a sunny day, your camera's gonna make things a little bit more blue. If you are filming something in your kitchen with your more yellow lights, then your camera's gonna make it look yellow because that's the setting. So it allows you to control that, and a couple of other things that I won't dive too deep into, but that's an app that I highly recommend. And then also there is sorry for the noise. Also, there is an app called Filmic Pro. That one really allows you to basically turn your cell phone into like a cinema camera, in a sense, where you have all of these professional settings that allow you to really have more control, so that way your lighting isn't bouncing all over the place, and it's just more consistent. So those are 2 apps that I highly recommend. And if you're just looking for a basic light, it really depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to do just a sit-down video, I would check out Amazon to get a basically like an LED light that's constant. Basically, you turn it on and it's like a lamp in a sense, but it's a more professional color and quality. There's a lot of different brands. Aperture has some. They're kind of expensive though, so I would check out Amazon for a company called Neewer. I believe that is spelled, let me double check. So it is spelled N as in Nancy, EEWER. That's a brand where they have pretty affordable lights, and then you could just check on Amazon too and see what other options there are. But that's one brand if you're looking to save a little bit of money but be able to create something with some cheaper lights. That's one brand you can definitely check out. And so or you don't even have to get that. To be honest, if you want to just start creating and you want to film outside in your backyard or go downtown or at a coffee shop or whatever the case is, like, you can do that. The one thing I would recommend that you buy though would be a mobile tripod. There's a lot of different tripods for cell phones. Joby has some. It's the ones where it's the little, you see vloggers with it all the time. They hold it up and it has the little balls on it, and you kind of can hold it with your camera. They have those for cell phones too. So I would say you could try something like that if you're going to be walking around and kind of vlogging in a sense. Or if you want to get something where it's just like, hey, I'm going to be recording in my bedroom, I would get a tripod that you can use to connect with your cell phone. So that would be something I'd recommend. But don't hold back just because you don't have a normal camera, professional camera. Just use your cell phone because the quality is really, really good. And it also feels more natural. People feel it feels more relatable. It doesn't feel overly produced and all that good stuff. So I would definitely keep that in mind. Another question that came in is, what inspired or interested you to get into photography or video work? Thanks, and keep up the good work. I actually got started when I was DJing in Los Angeles. I was always around different people that were, filming events and things like that. And I would see some of these videos and just be so inspired by the way they would tell the stories and make you want to visit, different places, and how they would capture the moment. And so hanging out with them, that just really got me to see how they turn their vision, use their creativity to tell a story. And so I was like, hey, can I, follow you around to some photo shoots or video shoots just to see how you do it, because I want to learn how to do it. And that just led from, one thing to another. So I had a camera that I was using from a company I was working for. I was doing their social media for this fashion company. I started, using the camera and kind of just going out, taking product photos of like different ties and socks and suits and things like that, learning product photography and video work. And then also like on the weekends or in the evening, I'd go downtown to LA and just kind of film and trying to practice. A lot of it was trash that I see. I mean, compared to what I can do now is like really horrible, but you just have to practice. And so that's how I got started. And so the I learned photo and video at the same time. They've always been a part of my journey. I know some people are like only photographers, but I was doing both just because social media had already exploded. And so you couldn't just do photo. I mean, in my opinion, I enjoyed both. So I started learning both of them and just started enjoying that process. And that's how I got started. And so ever since then, I just continue to watch content that keeps me inspired on YouTube, different YouTubers that I like, and it's just been a fun journey, just trying to get better. There's a lot of things I still have to improve on, but I really enjoy what I have been able to accomplish and what I've been learning and just practicing new techniques. I mean, it's just like even if you see a basketball player that's made it to the NBA, they're still working and improving on their game. So that's kind of the point that I'm at. Yes, I'm working with businesses, but I'm always still working to step up the quality of my content so that way I can be able to produce even higher and higher quality content for businesses online. All right, and then there's another question that came in on LinkedIn. This one was, let's see, I'd be interested in learning about any 2020 social media trends out there or just recent social trends in the last year or two. There's definitely been a lot of different trends, but of course it depends on the platform you're referring to because they all have different trends. So for example, I'll say TikTok because if you're wanting to talk about modern trends, I mean, we can't leave TikTok out of the picture. So at TikTok, there's a lot of videos where if you haven't been on the platform, I highly recommend for one that you check it out because you do want to learn how to use it. You don't want to be a lost person on there. So I would say check it out. There's videos where people are kind of pointing things out. They're not speaking or not using their voice on the videos a lot. So, for example, there'll be a video where someone's trying to show you how to model and take better pictures. So instead of them talking in the video, they're just demonstrating it and they're using a bunch of text that pops up in different places of the video. And they use that to be able to tell the story and explain things. So there's a bunch of explainer type of videos, but no audio from the person, just fun music, and then just a bunch of text that pops up explaining step by step what to do. So that's one trend that I've definitely seen. And then, of course, with other platforms as well, I mean, video, of course, we keep hearing is so crazy. So video is super important. You want to start posting a lot of content. You need more of it nowadays. So even if you are, like I said, shooting with your cell phone, you want to be shooting as often as you can to be able to just document the moment and not always overthink that you need to produce something major. A lot of people make the mistake of always wanting to just use their camera if they have one, for example, instead of just popping out their cell phone and kind of sharing their thoughts for the day. So more of that is is starting to come about by people that are, very clever and just want to be able to be seen online. They're not relying on, okay, let me sit down, let me map this out. They're just like, hey, let me take out my cell phone, kind of record what I'm thinking or feeling, and then they just post it online. And so more of this honest, just authentic content is coming out, and even in like higher end commercials that people are putting out on social media. The ads now that we're seeing online, they're not the same as like even a year ago. They're more authentic where it just feels like some normal person created that content and it wasn't, produced with a team of 30 people. So those are just a couple of the things I've noticed that, for one, people are just wanting to be more authentic and the audience is appreciating that instead of it being so stiff sometimes. So even, blog articles that are written or whatever the case is, a lot of those are written in a very personal tone where you feel like you're just having a conversation. And so that's what is taking place with video, where people are just becoming more and more conversational and they're really engaging their audiences to ask and get feedback every day and just doing that consistently. So those are a couple things that I'm looking to do, even more of because I appreciate that. and just, taking out my cell phone, bam, let me record something for the day instead of just overly planning things, which is not good. So those are a couple things that I noticed. I hope you got a lot of value out of this episode. I look forward to sharing some of the tips that I've learned this past weekend at Social Media Marketing World. I'll be sure to definitely include that in future episodes. And like I said, if you have questions that you would like me to answer in another episode, feel free to send me a message or reach out to me on social media. My username is Jakari Carter. So thank you so much for tuning in. Until the next time, have a great day, guys. Bye.